I'm falling and I can't turn back. I'm falling and I can't turn back.
Yeah, how everybody doing out there? Welcome to another powerful show. Where real talk goes down. I'm chilling with my brother Subtleinfinity. We're not gonna do a long intro. Y'all see the title of the show. Later we're gonna be opening up the panel because we want everybody to have a chance to speak. This was an awesome show idea. Everyone saw the recent interview with Umar Johnson, and we wanted to know what you think about it and also address a lot of the things that was said in his interviews. We might not never get a chance to talk to Umar Johnson in person, but we can talk to each other. He's one of the leaders in the community, and there's a lot of things that come to light in his interviews where we can see inside of the mind of our leaders. And that needs to be critiqued by the people so that we know what direction they're leading us in. So with that being said, I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to bring the one and only, my brother, your brother, Subtle and motherfucking Infinity.
Greetings, everybody. Thanks, bro.
Hey, Subtle, cut you. Oh, my bad. Let me cut you up some more. All right, there you go, brother.
You got me?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, thanks for opening up to this kind of information, this flow. It's got a lot of things we can speak on right now. Let me mute something. Yeah, is that your background or mine?
I don't know, but I'm going to put my headphones on now so it'll cancel out in my background noise. And yeah, we're going to try it again. And people, let us know in the chat if there's any audio issues on your end, and we'll try to just try it again, bro.
All right, check. Okay. Yeah, I can hear you, and there's no echo anymore. There's always this introduction of getting the audio right. It's part of it.
And I think a good place to start, Subtle, is that one Breakfast Club interview that Umar did when they asked him about that solution. And I forgot what he said, and I wish I can pull it up. But that right there, his solution, I want you to build on that because that's important. When you ask a leader, what's your solution? That should be the quietest moment ever where we listen like what he's going to say. So I want to hear you critique his answer on that.
I'd rather we played it so we could hear it first, and
Okay, we could do that.
So people can, can already hear what we're talking about, because some people might not know what we're talking about.
True that. So Umar Johnson on the Breakfast Club. And yeah, man, this was gonna be a powerful one because of these subjects right here, man.
You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Yeah, they tap on a lot of issues. There's a lot of big names that are out there in the light right now of conversation that could be, we could speak on it, because you can speak on the individual or you can speak on the world that they're presenting to masses of individuals. So where are their goals? Like, what do they represent? What are their like solutions? Like when Charlemagne asked Umar, I can't remember the video where it was. I just know it was in the beginning during that court case. It was played. Asked that question. From what I remember of the video, he kind of like segued or presented his position of solutions directly into the school. When you're on a platform that is, it's like national. It's a huge radio station, and just like people can easily understand the platform of the Golden Globes that Oprah had the opportunity to speak on, and she didn't really speak on anything. When you expand it to the bigger pictures, this is not to say that anything that she was mentioning is not important or shouldn't be mentioned. This is to emphasize the platform, the reach, the moment. This is why a lot of people can't really think for themselves, because we invest our energy so much in the individual. We forget about the story and start investing in our own investments within that story. So this is why a lot of people don't talk about the system itself. So from what I remember about that video, Umar went straight into the education. And this is the same thing. It's not to take away from the education itself, more so to go deeper into expanding it, but the education from the perspective of his school. Now, he could have actually taken that moment, that opportunity, to shed a light upon the origins of why things are the way they are, the psychology of teaching masses of melanated people to hate themselves, teaching masses of indigenous peoples to believe in a particular story, like the public education system. So you can see the difference there. So when Umar had that opportunity, he basically just channeled it right back into his own school. And there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. What I'm saying is that from my observation, my perspective, and taking everything into account, you have a platform there. Just like Oprah had that platform, and she took the tragedy of that woman who was raped by all those Caucasian men. She took that and channeled that energy directly back into the system itself with all this presidential run stuff. That's like the worst thing to do. That is equivalent to that dude going into that suicide forest and making a damn YouTube video about it. That's equivalent, from my eyes, that's equivalent to what went down with that whole storyline. Because she's been around how many damn things to be spoken upon in the last 30 years has she been quiet on in reference to the larger picture? How many opportunities, how many platforms do you have to speak upon the system itself? Or are you going to invest that energy into yourself again? So from the Black conscious community perspective, Umar Johnson pretty much represents, how I'm seeing it, he represents the same version of a newer version, a revised version of the old programming, because he hasn't worked on himself yet. And that's the thing he continues to avoid, which is, and he referenced it because he referenced it in one of his respond videos to Tariq, where he was talking about the biggest problem in the Black conscious community is ego. We have these leaders with these egos, and like, you're the biggest one out there talking about that ego shit. How the fuck are you gonna sit on a fucking pedestal and be like, oh yeah, the biggest problem is egos? Not me. You know, what the fuck are you doing?
Yes.
That's how far you are from that whole thing. So it's just, it's a fucking game, and it's sick because you have all these people that are following these leaders who are channeling this shit into a particular idea. And many of them, not all of them, many of them are not even talking about the system itself. They're very seldom, they mention it here and there, but this is the thing. Like we said earlier, Dr. Umar Johnson sells himself more than he speaks about the information. He's more about selling himself than his product, than he is about talking about the system and uprooting the system itself. And when you have an individual that is like that, you're going to have people following him and him needing to cater to his followers based upon what they're following him for. So they're following him for, a lot of them, not all of them, because he presents himself as this giant leader, which he's very intelligent. He's very knowledgeable about many different systems, many different parts of the psychology of white supremacy and all these different storylines. But in the video that we're going to get into, it's a really good opportunity to break down really kind of where his structure is, where he's coming from, what he's talking about, and some other perspectives that exist that he's very well aware of, other people are very well aware of, but can't really go into it, because if you go into it, kind of like flat earth, it'll threaten many of the other structures that you have created over the last years throughout your whole building of your world. So when people build their worlds around themselves, instead of building their world around by creating more leaders, then you're going to have leaders and followers, and these followers are going to be following this person and just regurgitating this information without actually doing the work. If you're an actual leader, you're going to make more leaders. But when you present yourself out there as a descendant and all this other stuff, you're asking for followers. So you need those followers out there. He's going to sell that follower mentality. And it's just going to keep, that's why I said it's the same old programming. It's the same old programming in a new suit. And when these individuals have this opportunity, they're not going to, we've seen how they presented themselves. Oprah and, you know, a lot of people out there. I mean, YouTube itself is an opportunity. So all these fake ass activists out there, Twitter and Instagram talking about, oh yeah, I'm in solidarity. They ain't talking shit. They can say something any day and that shit will go viral overnight. So when they get all up in their high horses in the fucking award ceremonies, selling their billions and $1 million asses, you can see who they're talking to. They don't give a shit about you, Joe Schmo, living down the street on the other side of the tracks, just fucking around, trying to get some damn food on the table. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you.
I think Umar Johnson,
the same way with,
I'm going to plug this in real quick. I want you to keep going in, but I think Umar Johnson is the new face of liberalism, and I'm gonna get into that in a minute. But he's definitely selling y'all this liberal agenda. I'm gonna go in on it in a minute. Go ahead, Subtle, because you going in, bro, and I'm all ears, man.
Well, yeah, his very well, the video, when we play the video, it'll give you a good outline of it. But his approach, it addresses the system, but it doesn't inherently uproot the system. Like he's like that whole doctor thing. Like he's in court right now because he's playing both worlds right now, where he's saying the world's full of shit. This is white supremacy, but I'm a doctor of clinical and this and that and all that other stuff. Like as if it fucking matters in this broken ass, shouldn't be existing as Western society right now in the first place. So, I mean, and he had an opportunity there to go into the maritime admiralty system, and that's all a personal thing. I'm not saying he had to and all that other stuff, but what I'm saying is that the very system itself, he's vested in that system. Like a lot of these people are very vested in the very system that they're talking about, like in the future.
Yeah.
Whereas like people who don't really have shit, who are really like talking about like what's going on, they're gonna be like, man, fuck this. You know, we've already had family members that passed from this fucked up system. We've already had like not food on the table. We've already had the jacked up education system. We're still struggling with all this other stuff. And this is not coming from a victim perspective. This is a repetitive observation of history that has been on purpose. The guns were brought into the ghettos, so-called ghettos, on purpose. The drugs were pumped into those inner city communities on purpose. And that purpose was to generate the system of people self-destructing and hurting and killing themselves within a system that makes a profit off of that whole mentality. And the people in the top of that pyramid who don't give a shit about you, they're going to continue to get you vested in trusting them to fix the system when the system itself was not meant to be fixed. It was meant to be broken so they can make a profit off of it breaking and them repairing it.
Yep.
And they keep playing that broken, repairing program in that Hegelian dialectic every other 4 to 8 years, or every other tragedy, or every other war, every other crisis,
buddy.
Every other fucking false flag. They play like a fucking cheap fiddle every damn day through social media and all these other puppets out here that are talking on their radio stations or their podcasts or their fucking YouTubes and all this other shit. And they're not really talking about anything other than their own investment within that system. Instead of going deep into and putting it all together. Like the flat earth information is one thing. The Black conscious community, it's one world. These are all various worlds that speak the same language of, hold on, something's fucking wrong right here. Something's seriously fucking wrong right now. And it's not new. It didn't just happen. So when you have Oprah sitting out there talking about how fucking shit your fucking ass down with all that stupid, you way behind schedule with all that emotion.
You know something?
Fucking bullshit.
You know what I don't like about the Umars and especially the Umars? Oprah do this in her own way. But what these pro-blacks do, man, is they say that the system is so fucked up. They say that this system, subtle, it ain't made for the black man. The white man got us down, and it ain't no way you can make it to the top until we rise up some kind of how or do all of these things, because the system ain't designed for us to win. Yet they come with, like you said, they gave you the problem. That's the problem. They saying the system ain't designed for you to win, so that's a problem. Their solution is, let's build a school in this system that ain't designed for you to win. Let's come to my online university and let me teach you how to win in this system that ain't designed for you to win. They say the system ain't designed for us to win. Then they come with all these solutions, though, that we can win if we follow them some kind of way, though. You know.
Yeah, there's so many like layers to perspectives that are out there. Like, for example, I was thinking about this the other day. A friend of mine was asking me about, or not really asking me, just mentioned like how she couldn't really see how Dave Chappelle could be on like the politics train. Like, how the hell could he be talking about like in this day and age, as the most powerful comedian out there, arguably the most powerful comedian out there, how could you be talking about politics in that kind of fashion? I mean, basically, Stephen Colbert, John Oliver, Bill Maher, like those guys they speak on that perspective on a daily basis, and sometimes they even go deeper than that. So you had the whole world looking at you on Netflix on New Year's and basically just talked about the same bullshit that everybody else talks about every day. Come on. Like, what the fuck? You had your own show. You were talking about way crazier shit on that show. The fuck is really going on here? So that's just one layer of difference between like Oprah and Umar Johnson. And Oprah did the same ass shit. And she did it even worse when she used that. She name dropped Rosa Parks, and she name dropped, can't remember what she was saying with the lady who was raped by those men. And then was just like, oh yeah, well, let's channel this back into the system and let's fix this system. And she's going to get all her, it's just going to be some more bullshit. And then they can stir up some more shit by not making whoever they put up there win again. Like, what if they were to just put Trump? That's another opportunity that they have out there to stir up some more shit and just be like, you guys just don't have any power. So the difference between like the Oprah's platform and what she was talking about and what's going on with Umar and his stuff, and then Dave Chappelle and other actors and activists that are out there, you can see like Cat Williams. So Cat Williams goes in, and you listen to these interviews, he goes in. Like Eddie Griffin too, they go in. They've been around for a long time, and they are very real about what's going on. This is why it's kind of quiet on a lot of things. So you have, I say that to explain the differences of approaches that people have, just to present it as like talking points of, well, you know, these people speak on this, they kind of reference this information, but they really don't go into the depths of it. All of this only to like put some color in the lines of the different languages that are being spoken, and they're all talking about the same thing, but we're not really piecing together the nature of these parasites in the society, the nature of the parasites in the consciousness of the way things are, why things are, and how things are, rather than focusing on what somebody else thinks something is. Like, we're talking about what somebody else thinks something is. We're not talking about, when you're watching the news, when you're watching social media and people's on YouTube perspectives and all that other shit and the trending ad, they're telling you what they think about a situation. Even the movies, the way they produce movies, the angles and everything, the approach, the moment, the emotion, they're telling you a story. Like genres, they're telling you a story. They're repeating something in your head. What does this all mean? Psychologically, subconsciously. And this is where, when I was mentioning the worlds that we present out there, Umar Johnson has an opportunity to speak on the psychology of this from the perspective of all the storylines that are going on with his weight, yet he channels it into his school. Like I said, nothing wrong with that. It's just these are just the opportunities that the people have out there, and you can learn about a lot about an individual when you see that kind of stuff, because the psychology of the nature of colonialism, the psychology of the nature of white supremacy is bigger than saying, oh, I hate you because such and such, or, you know, we shouldn't be having interracial relationships or other. You're still talking about hatred. Like, you're smarter than that. You have a psychological perspective of this reality, and you choose to still vest that perspective into other people hating themselves. Like, it's going to be a Mexican baby and a mixed Mexican and so-called black baby that's going to be born right now. And they're going to be hearing your perspective about what's going on. And they're going to channel that into fucking self-hatred.
And you know something?
You call yourself a psychologist and all this other shit, and you can't fucking see that? What are you trying to teach my kids? Like,
oh, man.
See, he came in here talking that shit. He came to Oakland talking that shit 3-4 years ago. And that's where I was just like, look, your words sound, at times, they sound very on point. But every bit of the way you are presenting yourself as to who you expect us to be in this community is totally out of whack. It's totally fucked up.
Word up.
And that's what Tariq was mentioning when he was talking about him being a very childish man. Like you're trying to build a fucking school and you yourself are still a fucking man child.
Woo, man.
Like, why the fuck are we going to invest in this? And then the money shit is just secondary. So this is all these opportunities that we have to speak on this stuff. Yet it's just focused on, oh, well, this person dissed me or he said this shit. Who will give a fuck about that? Talk about the individual's approach itself so we can talk about the system. Or just do some Oprah shit. You just talking some Oprah shit.
You know something, man? You said something that's so powerful. You said that he's putting hate into mixed kids and he's also putting hate into homosexuals. I don't agree with homosexuality, but I don't hate homos and I don't say nothing bad about them, and I'm gonna tell you why. Now, Umar said he's a psychiatrist, but you're right, man. It don't make sense. A psychologist. He ought to know what he's doing is psychologically a threat to mixed kids. And for him to say that he's a descendant of Frederick Douglass, when Frederick...
As if it fucking matters.
Yeah. As if it matters, you know, because that makes him better than us, right? Because we ain't no descendant. You know, you feel me? Because he's a descendant of Frederick Douglass. So, but I tell you this, Frederick Douglass was mixed. He was mixed, people. So for Umar to come out saying, you know, you can work for me, but if you dating outside of your race, you can't work for me. That means he wouldn't have hired Frederick Douglass's parents. He put Frederick Douglass on a pedestal, but you wouldn't have hired Frederick Douglass's parents because they was in an interracial relationship. These awesome parents, Subtle Infinity, produced a man as great as Frederick Douglass to the point that Umar wanna say he's some kin of Frederick Douglass. This guy, the man who we're calling Frederick Douglass, is a result of both of his parents, the white half and the black half. So you gotta accept them both. It's so hypocritical. And now let's talk about the homosexuality. He's a psychologist, so I know he should know this if I know it. Most of these guys and girls that's into this homosexuality, it ain't their damn fault. They've already did tests and all of this to show you that this shit is a chemical that they putting in a lot of these baby stuff. It's a shots that they giving a lot of these folks. Now, a lot of folks are naturally just homosexual. But for the most part, this epidemic of homosexuality, this shit ain't natural. This something they're doing. And there was a guy by the name of Tyrone Haynes who exposed the whole shit. He actually made these straight frogs become gay, y'all, in one day. He gave them a chemical, I think it's called atrazine. And that's the #1 chemical that they putting in a lot of these communities in the cheap food. So you see this behavior in targeted areas, and this is not a game. I did a whole video on Tyrone Haynes and on the Greek culture and the rise of homosexuality and all of that, telling you the science behind it as opposed to just bashing homosexuals. Because guess what? If you don't think we at war, you're a lie. And Umar ought to know this stuff. So when you talk about you can't come to my university if you sexually confused, you're a damn psychologist. You shouldn't even make that statement. You should be educating the ones who sexually confused on how they even become that way, how to think to get out of it, why they shouldn't feel bad about themselves, because guess what? This is a fucked up nation, unfortunately, we live in, and they doing a lot of unnatural shit to natural people and natural things. So we can go deep into all of this later when we open the panel, but that's just two I wanted to plug in because he seemed to pick on interracial couples and homosexuals a lot without actually giving the solutions and the facts to it all. You know, and just to say that you can't work for me because you in an interracial relationship, that's so stupid when He's on a radio station that's a result of interracial unity. In other words, what I'm telling you is the Breakfast Club is possible because of black people and white people. Black people are the main ones host and run the damn show. And of course, we know that the white man owned some of that Breakfast Club company too. So the show that he's on that's giving him a voice is a result of interracial unity. But he's against it. Now, he's not going to hire nobody to work for his school who in an interracial relationship, but he'll come onto a show that's the result of interracial unity. Go ahead, Sutter. This is ridiculous.
Oh, it's kind of like the same thing that politics does when they tell you to focus on jobs and get out there and vote and all that other stuff. It's just focus on these things. Don't focus on the system presenting these programs to our children that presents this kind of result 5, 10, 15, 20 years down later in their lifetime, so that they can make a profit off of their sickness or disease or cancers. Or not saying anything other, I'm just saying specifically like the vaccines and all this other stuff and all this stuff. Like television commercials are psychological side effects, like negative side effects from like vaccines. So it has the same effect on you psychologically. And this is a poisonous ass program that it thrives off of chaos. It thrives off of keeping people focusing on the little chunks of flashiness that are in front of us without addressing the entire system. We can't really piece the pieces together because we're speaking all the same languages from our own styles, from our own perspectives. The only thing is we're speaking them all at the same time, as if that's the only thing that matters, when it's all of them, all the perspectives that matter. So like I was saying, like even what Oprah said last night, like there's a lot of people that didn't even know about those perspectives, those stories. The thing is, it really doesn't matter if you're just going to channel it into some shit like defeating Donald Trump, when we all know that the voting industry is just part of the problem in the first place. So when you really analyze it, you see that she used the like this terrible thing that happened to this individual for a political gain. That's a fucked up shit. And that's like what this system thrives on. And people aren't going to talk about that. They're not going to talk about the nature, the psychology of the system itself. They're going to bombard you with all this. Yeah, we hope Oprah fucking runs and all this. Shut the fuck up with all this. But that's the majority of perspectives that are being presented to people right now. And you can see how that very perspective could be existing in people's insides like a cancer. And it just creates this repetitive conversation of, well, this is the best we can do. It's hopelessness. If you're talking about voting and Democrats and Republicans, if you're talking about the Hegelian dialectic as if it's the only thing that you can do, then of politics, of Western so-called civilization, then you're basically preaching hopelessness. And that's what a lot of these so-called Black conscious community leaders are speaking on when they're talking about, you know, this and this and this and this and that. It all still exists within the system itself that you claim shouldn't be existing in the first place because they got it from criminal behavior. So why the fuck are we not talking about the criminal behavior as much as we're talking about the shit within the pirate system of criminal behavior? Like, when is it going to be time to call the system itself criminal in nature? Because the fucking Native Americans have been saying it for the last 500 and something fucking years. The indigenous people who were already colonized and taken all and fucking removed from this planet from mind control programs were already, they've been saying it since their graves were dug out. So how many times are we going to repeat the same fucking, oh, we're just going to present ourselves to this and just let go of our own perspectives of how, you know, we should do this, like, oh, this school, or, oh, this political party, or, oh, this patriotic perspective and all that other bullshit. Like, I mean, everybody's seeing it from their own way in their own time, and there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is that there's enough information and ways to connect this information, and smart people who are critically thinking out there to say, well, if the earth is fucking not a globe, if the earth is not a globe, the very fucking nature of your place is not a globe, what the fuck else have they been lying to you about? How else have they been mind controlling you? And then piece all these things together. So you have these people running around talking about, oh, I'm a psychologist, whatever the fuck you think you are. You're talking about the system that you fucking claim to be destroying every day. You talk about white supremacy. So you pride yourself in the same system that you fucking demonize. Like, what the fuck is that?
And another way he does that is by demonizing white supremacy, but putting himself on a high horse based upon the credentials that white supremacy gave him. So you making a good point, because one thing that gets Umar off is the fact that I got credentials, bitch. I got credentials, bitch. You know, and when we talk credentials, the root word is cred, like credits, street credibility. In other words, he's saying I got credibility. But who is that credibility that he's priding himself with come from? The white man who had his ass in court. Because listen, let me tell y'all pro-black something about the white man who y'all like to blame stuff on. If you want to use his credibility, if you want to walk around and say, yeah, I got credentials, bitch, and these credentials come from the white man, then the white man will bring you to court about you claiming his. That's just like if I was a Cali saying, yo, I'm rolling 60s. Them 60s gonna come check my ass like, come here, bro. Who put you in? Who your OG? Who gave you permission to claim our shit and get our street credentials? Same thing with Umar. If you want to demonize white folks but still claim their credentials to certify yourself from them, you exalt yourself over your black brothers because of these credentials that come from the white man, Umar. So think about that. If the white man got him in court, because why? You saying you get your credentials from us, bro. So they got this black man in court, making him explain his goddamn self and about these credentials that he claiming. Why? Because what Umar is saying is my credentials come from y'all. So they saying we need to check that shit, just like them 60s would check you if you was in Cali. They'll check you. They'll say, well, yeah, we want to know who put you down. You just don't claim this and get a free ride. All right. So he in court having to explain himself, but you need to look at the bigger picture. He got the answer to these people just because he was throwing these credentials around on his brothers. He demonizing the system, but saying the reason he the Papa and Prince of Pan-Africanism is because of the credentials that he so-called get from the system. And y'all don't see the hypocrisy. So like Subtle said, he go on these little radio stations like the one he went on. We about to play the video. I'm going to let you hear what he's saying, and me and Subtle going to dissect it, rip it apart. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and play that now. Subtle, you want to hop in that video and we can pause, just let me know when to pause it and we'll start going in on it because it's like 40 minutes.
Which video you playing right now?
The one,
the interview?
Yeah, the one you originally, yeah, the one where he talking beef with the Coonan. It's like 30 minutes on Blessed Beats. You sent it to me, the first one you sent me.
Oh, yeah, just go ahead and play it. I can't remember what it was.
All right, let me go and play it and just listen to Umar, y'all, and we'll stop it whenever you want to build on it, Subtle. Thank everybody for tuning in. Remember that at some point at the end of the show, me and Subtle Infinity will open up the panel, and we will be letting everyone come up here and speak on this. So let me get this going, man.
Jehovah's passion for life, we just a part of this team that be bringing them life.
Welcome to the Blessed Beat Show. My name is Memphis 10 Saturday Sit Down, end of 2017. And I got the exclusive I've been waiting on since 2012. Dr. Umar Johnson in the building. What's happening, bro?
Peace and love, black family. Shout out to Houston. Glad to be back in the city.
Yeah, man. All right, so I've been talking about this interview, talking about you for a while.
Yes, sir.
For a long while. All right. Before I even get into why you are here, for those who watching on 937thebeathouston.com,
yes, sir.
Those that might be watching on YouTube that don't know who you are,
yes, sir.
Explain who you are to the people.
Definitely. Dr. Umar Johnson is a doctor of clinical psychology, certified school psychologist, certified school principal, relative to the late great Frederick Douglass, former minister of education to Mark.
Now, I know this just started, but I want to go and get one of my truth bombs out of the way quick because I'm tired of him, like Sutter said, keep on using this Frederick Douglass lie. So before we go on into this, and I know it's a lot we got to get into, but that just reminded me about this whole Frederick Douglass thing. Let's go and talk about that. Is Umar related to Frederick Douglass? Because I got some document now from online.
Well, I don't want to talk. I don't want to spend too much time on just him. After this video, I think it'd be cool because he, like I said, I'd rather speak in reference to like the system itself and how a lot of these so-called leaders are not really in on that because of the investment in the system itself. So going through this video is a good example of because he's being built up by this host, and he's showing you the best that he can of himself and where he's coming from. The thing is, anybody could. Well, you don't need a psychology degree to understand the limitations in the very language that he's using. So right, we're not gonna. What time are you starting it so I can start it at the same time over here? Where are you at right now? Okay, hold on. Let me give a shout out to Floyd Mack. And thank you for the super chat donation, my brother. I'm gonna start this interview at 0.57 seconds where he's saying that he's related to Frederick Douglass. But what I'm gonna do, so I don't spend a lot of time, like you said, I'm just going to put the link to this statement in the chat room right now. This is an important link that I'm giving you guys. I'll leave it up on the screen. You can read as we watch the video. But the family of Frederick Douglass said that he's not related to them, and they just wanted to put it on the record. But you can check into that yourself. We're going to keep the interview moving because it is a long. Yeah, just let me know when you hit play.
Okay. Wow, you can't see it, you can't hear this one?
I can see it, but I don't know. I'm like, maybe I can. I don't want to be on a delay. That's the thing.
Okay, so
you know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna count down in.
Yeah.
So I'm about to hit play in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association, author of the book Psychoacademic Holocaust, the Special Education and ADHD Wars Against Black Boys, and founder of the National Independent Black Parent Association.
Now his Black Powers is coming off of you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so what brings you to H-Town? Speaking
it's
of
just like a,
yes, sir. Every Kwanzaa, I do a tour to raise consciousness.
Go ahead, you can speak.
I was just gonna go into like how these discussions, like they're just like celebrating. It's like award ceremonies. That's what a lot of these, and these are opportunities that we have. So are we about the information? Are we about addressing the system itself? Or are we about like our parts within that system?
There you go. And that's a damn good question. Are we about basically getting rid of this system because we'll never be able to fit in it equally? Or are we just about reestablishing our submissive role within it? And what happens is, like Subtle said, when they go on these interviews, it becomes about stroking Umar off as opposed to like the solutions and all of this shit. So, I mean, not to just be harsh on a brother, but moving into 2018, his ego got to be checked, and that's all we doing now. Because when you got a black leader that calls himself Papa, you know, and all this in every interview, I'm the best, like DJ Khaled. It's like, damn.
Coming from a psychological perspective, you're claiming to be here for the children, but you yourself are not able to psychologically analyze how you yourself are still acting like a fucking child.
Facts. Facts.
What the fuck is going on here? I don't want you to open up a school filled with psychological perspectives that result to you. Like, why the fuck would that happen? So stop talking about how you can be the savior of what, you know, like the other world outside of white supremacy, and just talk about the system itself. There's more healing that needs to be done. A lot of these people are still either trying to build within the system or build in and around the system without talking about the system because it might offend too many people. Fuck that shit. There's already too many people that have been offended into the fucking grave. That's what the hell's going on right now. It's the poorest people, the most impoverished people in the world going to fight these fucking wars for these rich ass people. Yet we have the time to call ourselves leaders and just be like, oh yeah, we need to just build some schools in and around this system, but we ain't gonna say nothing about the system itself. And fuck that shit. It's been, the time is fucking, you want to say time is up? Fucking time is up for that shit. Time is up for people who still selling that bullshit. They're still putting out that same mentality, just like Oprah out there. How many people are out there claiming not to be like fucking Oprah who are exactly like fucking Oprah? It's the same mentality out there. And I keep saying her because we need to hold ourselves to an accountability of the system itself. The psychology has been designed for us to self-implode, self-destruct, and hate each other. So people talk about, oh yeah, we're always fighting ourselves in the black conscious community and all this other shit. It's because we're holding ourselves accountable for a higher state of interaction in this society. And you can't walk around as a fucking man child and be out there like, oh, I'm a leader, I'm a big papa, I'm a fucking prince. Prince of what? Yep. Prince of fucking illusions, because we as indigenous motherfuckers were already here already. So why are you preaching this Africa stuff when we could analyze the system that largely predates a lot of the shit that was in Africa? Like all this opportunity for information sharing and presenting that uproots the system itself. Because the system, the thing is, when you're, does it sound like, what is it? How's that movie? I'm gonna get you stuck with what he was talking about. The system.
I want to hit you with something right now, because I'm kind of looking at the chat too. And someone said, Brother Sanchez are basically asking us why we ain't built a school. Well, knowledge is power. You in class right now. I am the school. Wherever I go, class is open. You don't need a fucking
school when I'm comfortable enough to build a fucking school, and I'm not grown enough to build a school right now. And that's it. That's all I need to fucking say, because there's enough growth that needs to happen for all of us individually. And before we start even building schools, we have to heal our own bodies to build a strong enough school. And we have to learn a deeper layer of consciousness to build. Why would you, if you build a school on a broken foundation, it will crash. It will crash. And if you build a school next to a system that is designed to profit off of your destruction, even if Umar were to build a school, it might possibly be attacked by the system in some kind of psychologically way, or even legal way. They do all kinds of shit. But if you address the nature of the system itself, where it gets its power from. See, when Umar walks around with his giant ego and he builds himself up, he's building up his giant ego because he's presenting himself to the giant ego of the system. The only thing is, they are in all the power seats in the places that he prides himself in. Like you said, like his doctrine, like whatever he's priding himself in being official, he's out there. Even as shallow as it is to be priding yourself in an ancient descendant. Like what if there's people walking around here who are descendants of all kinds of people that were wearing all kinds of shit back in the day that were of some kind of notoriety in society, as if it fucking matters today. Like, that shit doesn't matter today. Like, in any way, a child would pride themselves in that. A child would pride themselves in that.
And you made
that's what people are like.
You made a damn good point too, that it's stuff actually in the Americas that can predate some of the things in Africa. And for so many years, we've been ignoring that. And it's like you got a bunch of black men right here in America with all kind of problems. And we want to skip way over to fucking Africa and be the prince of Africa instead of the prince of goddamn Philly, where you from, where I don't even think Umar can go back to, because a lot of folks from Philly say stuff. Now, shout out to Umar. We criticize severely over here, because when you're a leader today in 2018, the fucking fire's on. You want to be in this position, you want to be Papa, there's a lot of criticism come with it. When Jordan was at his prime, when Jordan have a goddamn game where Jordan shoot 12 points, Jordan get criticized more than the next man, because Jordan is the God, right? So if you want to be on this throne, your criticism going to be a little bit bigger.
And that's the thing in this video, and I wish I had skipped to those parts because it is a long video. It's only 30 minutes, but it's a good one to like stop and go. I'll try to hold back from addressing what's going on in that video. But he actually says, he presents to the audience in that interview the perspective of, you want to come take the throne, you come take it. Talking to Tariq, like, this ain't no fucking video game. What are you talking about? Like, I mean, and then you had Tariq taking the same perspective, talking about, you want to talk that internet shit, then talk that internet shit, and then just come down, you know where I'm living. And so they're just going back and forth like that. I mean, whatever with this internet shit, man. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, he was just talking about that. Like, he was just saying, you can play it. You can play it because he, like, what throne are you talking about, man? These people get distracted by all this. And then that's the thing. He's easily deflected. He's a master deflector. If he's got a psychological license in anything, it's fucking deflection. And that's one main one, because just listen to what he's talking about in this. Go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and play it. I'm gonna count down again. Let me
just
get
go
it back
from like
up.
2-1 or something.
All right, for sure.
30, 20.
I'm at 1:19, Subtle. And 3, 2, 1, we on.
And spread information.
Yeah.
The information that I have, my expertise in school psychology, is directly related to special education, because it is the school psychologist that does the testing, the psychological evaluation that qualifies you for special education. So if you are a special ed student in the United States of America, because special ed is a federal law, so it's everywhere.
Right.
If you're in special ed, a school psychologist puts you there. So we're called the gatekeepers of special ed, because we decide who goes in, who goes out.
How do y'all decide? Well, how?
IQ tests, achievement tests, visual motor assessment, psychological assessment, adaptive behavior measure, parent interview, teacher interview, classroom observation, review of the record. We put all that together and we decide whether or not we think. Now, here's what I need you to get. Notice what I said. We decide whether we think that kid has a reading disability, whether we think he has ADHD.
So if he's slower, if he's just slow, if I'm just slower than you, somebody can say, Memphis, he needs to be. Exactly. And that's why black boys are over-identified for special ed, because the determination is very subjective, my brother. And less than 1% of all school psychologists are black. So 99% of the people putting our kids in special ed don't look like them, don't understand them. And that's why I'm in Houston, to wake the people up. Speaking at the shrine of the Black Madonna. Speak at 5. Doors open at 3. But from 12 until 5, when my lecture begins, there is a free community university at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. There's going to be different seminars, speakers from Houston dealing with agriculture, economics, investment, romance, spirituality, diet and health, police genocide, community organizing.
Pause it right now.
And there's a free black vendor market. They set up now.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead. Let me give a shout out to Anthony Baker real quick before you go in, Subtle. Say, here's a donation for my tuition. Hey, much love to you, Anthony Baker. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, Anthony Baker. Yes, Subtle. Go ahead. My bad.
Yeah, I just wanted to take this opportunity now to emphasize, like, we're talking about somebody who put in some work. Like, so he put that information out there, like this opportunity to not miss out on what he is talking about. So everything that he listed off is a hell of a lot more than most people in any kind of mainstream circuit, and many people in other so-called forward-thinking communities don't even address at all. So just to take this opportunity to share respects and acknowledgement of people who do go out there, who are going out there. The thing with this is not, when people see people talking about an individual, like, I never talk about that individual in reference to the individual themselves, more so than how they present themselves to the system and how they address the system. If you're calling yourself a leader, then you're like even when I was in the Army, like, you're held to a leadership position. Like, you have a responsibility to your soldiers. If you put yourself out there like that, or are you going to present yourself as, like, we all need to be leaders? So that's that old ass world of, you know, us and this and them, and there is like a system of that is going against the mass population. I don't want to say like there isn't. Just saying that if you're more rooted in that old school sort of, I need to have followers because I'm a born leader, then you're already limiting yourself to how much growth you can have. And if you present yourself as such, then you're going to be, as a leader, then you're going to be breeding followers who are going to be holding themselves to a standard like yourself, who still hasn't worked on the programming that is going on within your own nature, within the way you're presenting yourself. So you're counterproductive when you present such amazing perspectives like police brutality and white supremacy and all the stuff that we need to be speaking on and addressing so we can heal this shit, instead of just like trying to work in and around it. You have this opportunity and then you channel it right into your own ego. Is just gonna slap you right in the face and knock down everything you said. And most of the people that are at least half of the people that were listening to you, you lost half your fucking audience because of your own inner work that you choose not to address because you don't want to look vulnerable or expose yourself from entertaining another version of yourself. Whatever made you money in the past, you're going to keep that same style when you sell yourself to this kind of programming, to this kind of, oh, I'm a leader, I need followers. So that's that whole thing. That's how he's presenting himself. And yeah, and so like, but he's putting out an idea out there. What he represents, this is another positive thing that he represents, just by being Dr. Umar Johnson, talking about a school and some money. He's talking about the fact that education is it's dead. It's gone. It's not even meant, and we need to do it for ourselves. So whether that be through his school or whatever, I mean, people are going to do whatever the hell they want to do. He can be like the Mormon version of, you know, acknowledging what the hell's going on in here, because that's ultimately what it's going to boil down to. If you have an individual who's going to create a so-called education system like that when they themselves haven't even grown out of that man-child mentality, it's going to run itself into the ground when you start with that kind of foundation, especially when you don't acknowledge a lot of the other programming that's in and around the very nature of the program itself. So why not address the fact that we are being attacked, that rather than just like work a school around what's going on? Yeah, it's so complex because these individuals are doing amazing work when you look at the status quo of society. And that's why people are so pissed off. It's like, how the fuck could you have this opportunity and just run this shit into the ground? Whether you're Oprah or Umar Johnson or anybody else out there calling themselves a fucking leader.
And you know something, sort of, one thing, I'm going to say this because people misinterpret me. I want to put this on a record since we got a crowd. I'm not against books. I'm not against telling our kids to get their grades and get their education. What I'm saying is you live in a time now where you got to do more than just go to school, get your daily miseducation and programming. Because what they teaching in the school, you got to know that it ain't the truth. You got to know what they teaching in the school as far as history, science. All of this is to disconnect your children from nature. They also pushing the homosexuality in school very hard. But why am I bringing this up? It's not an education system. It's always been a miseducation system. So every time Umar say the word special ed in his interview, replace him with special mised. So what's going on right now is you got two different kind of revolutionaries. If he's the prince of Pan-Africanism, then part of Pan-Africanism is taking black people in America out of America and moving them back to Africa. He said he's a Garveyite, and that's what Garvey was about. Garvey wasn't trying to build miseducation schools in this damn land. Marcus Garvey wasn't trying to build schools to reteach black children this damn lie. He was trying to get them in Africa where we can teach whatever we want to teach and all of that. But when you open a school here, it's still got to be based on a certain curriculum. And that's the thing. So the problem is people say I'm the bad guy because I'm telling these black parents that the system ain't gonna be here forever, and that yes, you keep sending your kids to school to get a good job and going through college, but it's people that's getting trades out here that's fucking small millionaires. What am I telling you? I know people who got HVAC companies and plumbing companies who never went to college, who making more money than the kid who went to college all them years and got to pay back the government all that damn money. The college thing is a scam. The real money is in trades. It ain't about going to these prestigious universities, putting on a suit and tie and talking like you smart like Umar. That shit don't put money in your pocket. Why you think everything from these guys do gotta be funded from the people? Now, I ain't trying to, I'm just telling y'all the deepness of this shit because we got to get into it. But we don't want to take up too much of your time. Subtle, if you don't want to say nothing, I'm going to play the tape. If you want to build before we get into it, then it's on.
Yeah, go ahead and play it.
All right.
Did you play it already?
Yes,
we got food, we got clothes, we got shea butter, we got incense, we got cell phone cases. Yeah. I'm there with my book that every parent needs to buy. Okay. But I want all of Black Houston, parents and regular members of the community, to come out today at 5 o'clock. And why? Because you're going to learn how to keep your child out of special ed. Yeah. You're going to learn why you don't need to be giving your son Ritalin, Adderall, Concerta, Meditate, Cyclip, Risperdal, Depakote, Prozac, Paxil.
Let me ask you this. Growing up, I don't know how old you are. Growing up, for me, I remember a time when we saw the slower kids, right? I think the thing was Down syndrome or something.
Down syndrome.
And now it seems like the big thing is, like you said, the ADD and autism is big now.
Yes.
Why do you think it
mushroomed? Okay, let's deal with them. Okay. Let's deal with ADHD. Okay. ADD, attention deficit disorder, comes to us in 1980, the same year that the CIA started mass incarcerating black males. They started locking up men for selling dope while they were giving dope to our boys in school. ADD becomes ADHD in 1987. In 80, it was only ADD. It became ADHD in 87. And guess why? Why? There's no drug that can make your son pay attention. So simply diagnosing a black boy with attention deficit disorder did not result in a prescription. The drug companies were losing.
And let me just say this. I agree with him on that. It ain't all about just us, being hypercritical on Umar. What he's saying now is facts, and salute to him for that, because I took Ritalin as a child, and I think that's the reason my mind's so fucked up now.
All right.
Losing money.
Okay.
Wall Street wasn't getting paid.
Right.
So they forced the American Psychiatric Association to add the H, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now everybody could get doped up.
When you say hyper, that just means I can't sit still.
Look at the criteria. I'll give them to you now.
Go ahead.
Loses things necessary to get his work done.
Okay.
Acts like he's driven by a hand or motor. Taps with his hands or feet. Blurts out answers. Has difficulty sustaining attention. Loses things necessary to get his work done.
Yeah.
Has trouble playing quietly. First of all, what child plays quietly?
Nobody.
Second of all, do you know what I just described to you? I didn't describe to you a mental disorder. I described to you a normal black boy.
Right.
Which leads me to my next point.
Right.
97% of American teachers are women. 93% of that 97% are middle-class white women. The black boy doesn't have a problem learning.
Right.
He has a problem being mistreated.
See, like the information that he's sharing is on point, and he, like, in many ways, not saying it's completely whatever. I mean, it never is with any individual. We're all sharing our own perspectives, but what the information at its core needs to be addressed. The thing is, what I'm saying is that he's a master at what has happened as a result of this system, the psychology of this. He's a master of seeing that. But what's going on with the reasons how and why the system does this to us? Like, why not? I mean, everybody, why is the system standing in the first place? Like, we're aware of this information, but how and when are we going to start speaking about the system itself? That's why I relate to one of the segues into having that discussion is acknowledging, first and foremost, within their own system, they have all of those treaties that they pretty much burned up. Over 500 treaties that they have with the Native Americans, which also brings up the perspective of the so-called black people, black Americans being indigenous Americans already being here. Not to saying that some slaves weren't moved here and there. This is just to say that the 90th percentile of the so-called black people in the Americas were already here. That is the most powerful, or one of the most powerful perspectives any group of people can take when you understand that it uproots the very nature of the so-called power grid that we call this Western society, this power of the British Empire, the colonial empire, the American empire, all these military bases all over the place, colonizing Hawaii, the Polynesian islands, colonizing and genociding people in Australia. The nature of this system is on trial right now. And if we focus too much on our own presentations within that system, we're going to miss out on the opportunity to address the system itself. And this system has been doing the same thing over and over again. So if you're trying to build a fucking school within the system and still allow this system to be functioning the way it is and not address it, then you're just going to, you're going to be spinning your wheels, at least.
And you making a good point, and I don't want to sound so radical, but I was thinking about how other nations, other groups of people, when they get ready to rise up against the system, they take their children out of the schools and start motherfucking turning the whole nation over. And they have to rewrite the whole goddamn constitution damn near. You know, this is real revolution. I mean, when shit hit the fan, like I think it's gonna do in America here in the future. What I'm saying is, we do the opposite as quote unquote black people. We say we revolting, and our way of revolting is trying to patch the damn oppressor system up. And like, I'll get called a coon and saying, boy, you dangerous to the children. No, I'm a real revolutionary. I forgot what a revolutionary looked like. So let me tell you the problem here. Subtle's a real revolutionary. Khalid Muhammad was a real revolutionary. These were people, Marcus Garvey, real revolutionary. you know, if you talking about revolting. So what happens is a lot of these black teachers like Umar and the rest of them, hey, even your Tariq Nasheeds and your other big black platforms, your Thomas Sotomayors and everybody, all of them, they got little sit downs where they talk about the problems of black people. I'm talking about all of your big black speakers or whatnot. So they are all hypercritical of black parents and black people. On their shows, they tell you what we're doing wrong and what we need to do to get it right. Umar got a lot of facts, and I support that because he right about them damn drugs. They doped me up when I was a child on Ritalin. My mama didn't know no better. So I know that got a lot to do with some of my shortcomings. But so I'm very sensitive to that, and I support Umar on that real talk. I'm not just here to bash my brother Umar like that. I'm here to say to all leaders, not just Umar, it's time to check our ego, because we all ain't gonna agree. But these leaders are hypercritical of black parents. They're hypercritical of interracial couples. They're hypercritical of homosexualities. They're hypercritical of people who may not be for the pro-black plight. And they mad when black parents push back, meaning these people go on these platforms and they say, black people don't do this enough. And black people, you do this too much. And black people, your problem is this. And they sound good telling black people what the fuck you doing wrong. That's why he called himself Papa. This is a Papa's approach. I'm telling you what I know. When I was a teenager coming up, this how my daddy talked to me. Son, you ain't doing this right. Son, you need to slow your goddamn roll, boy. Son, I keep telling your ass. So when you hear Umar calling himself Papa with that mentality, like, and you ain't doing this right, and you ain't doing, that's cool, because 9 times out of 10 he telling you right. Half of the shit he accusing you about, he's right. But what I'm saying is, we got to stop and realize that the people you're accusing, on one hand, you hypercritical of these people and you accusing them of not being good black parents or not doing AYZ. But on the other hand, you say that the system ain't built for them to do it. You say it was meant for them to be that way because the system ain't designed for us. So how can we be hypercritical of some people who failing in a system that's designed for them to fail? It's very contradiction. So what I mean is this. If it ain't them and it's the system, and people like Subtle said, see, because here go your problem. Right now, America is falling. The spirit of patriotism is falling. No one got no hope in the education system, in the court systems, in the law system, in the medical system. All of these systems has failed not only black people, but whites as well. They failed us all in this country. So with that being said, a lot of the young kids that's coming up today ain't got no desire to get no damn good job. They ain't got no desire to be going to school like Umar trying to say and put on a suit and tie. They rather join Crip or Blood because right now they picking up on the energy that Umar ain't picking up on. And that's war energy. Shit about to hit the fan in this country. Ain't nobody trying to get a good degree. They trying to get a good gun, a good arsenal, a good goddamn militia, a good aim. So I ain't saying, I'm just telling you shit about to get worse than what we think. But I'm going to end on this, man. You know, if the government ain't, if the systems ain't designed for them to win, and black teachers teach them this on one hand, it's hypocritical for black teachers to come out on the other hand and say, well, y'all ain't doing enough. This is why you failing. But you saying the system designed for them to fail. So what Umar and a lot of more black people doing, they pushing you to give 100% to a system that ain't giving 100% to you. It ain't meant for you to win. But they pushing you like you ain't winning because it's you. And I don't get it. Like, I don't get it, man. I guess we'll open up the panel later because my viewpoints about the system and why we ain't winning different than theirs. I'm just using theirs against them because it's hypocritical for them to make the arguments that they make about the system, but then be so hypercritical of black people, you know, and make money off playing on their victimization and saying, well, you ain't doing enough and you ain't, but on one hand, you can't do enough. So it's like the same Christian church approach where it's a problem that you got that you will never get the solution for, so I can keep selling you the drug and you won't get healed. Sorry, Sutter. Go ahead, brother.
Exactly. No, that was it. Yeah, like I was just gonna drop in and talk about a video. That link I just sent you was a clip from Muhammad Ali, where he was talking about why is Jesus white, and in reference to the so-called leaders who are calling themselves leaders today. I wanted to share that little clip with people to set like the tone of what was already being spoken about. You know, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, we were already presenting a lot of these perspectives that addressed the psychology, the very nature of the system itself. So when you're coming from the very nature of the system itself, and it's a very offensive to a lot of people but you got to take it into context, the time frame and what was really going on right now. I mean, people were still being, you know, drugged through the streets. Like a lot of things happened basically yesterday when in his time frame that were inhuman. They were just completely ridiculously destructive on so many layers in order to beat into submission the ability for the people, the original people of this land. So they hit you with the president, they hit you with COINTELPRO, they hit you with the guns, they hit you with the drugs, they hit you with the biggest one was Hollywood. They hit you with the TV, they hit you with cartoons and movies and commercials. MTV came out, like the NASA going to the moon. Every single distraction was thrown into our reality to create this plastic perspective of our universe, including the heliocentric programming of NASA and all that other bullshit. I just watched Apollo 13 for the first time like 2 days ago, and for whatever reason I had been holding back on watching it. I knew what it was all about, but I finally watched it from the beginning to the end, and I was just thinking like how this was just a giant World Series celebration barbecue or something like that. It was like the most American ass movie you could ever understand, with the centerpiece being a celebration of NASA and this thing that supposedly happened, and they made that shit your reality. So when you have these same leaders out here like Tom Hanks, when the movies he represents like a leader of that whole mindset. So to put things into context, you can see how other leaders are selling a particular mindset, a particular program. So when you have leaders of the day out here now, like saying, "Oh yeah, this is what's going on. You should follow me. I'm the prince this and I'm Papa that." I'm like, man, what the fuck? Who are you talking to? Like, what? Who you talking? You could be talking to my uncle or my grandfather's. This is like they're not gonna let you. What was that joke or that one video? The dude was like, "Oh, what's your name?" He's like, "Oh, it's beautiful," or some shit like that. You would call you beautiful? That's your name? No, but it's the same shit with that whole Papa Prince shit. It's a thing we tell ourselves. Like, who the fuck are you in your dreams when you're facing a nightmare? Who are you then? Who are you in that space of your subconscious when you have no control? You have no control of that space. Like, what's going on there? And that's why that's who we are, as like the essence of who we are. But if you can't even present yourself as that without being bombarded by the egotistical perspective of what's going on, like in that whole Prince Papa shit, then you already lost more than half of your audience. So, and then on top of that, when you have leaders that are out there, you have so-called leaders that are out there trying to reinvent the wheel. Like Muhammad Ali, like all these people who came before us, take what they had already done, take what they had already spoken on, take their perspectives that were already out there, and really check yourself in to see, are you honoring where they were coming from or are you just buying into the status quo of society right now? Because if that's the case, then we're not really honoring them. So what were they talking about? And sure as hell weren't talking about, you know, this egotistical ass perspective of back and forth and you know, fixing the system. The majority of people back then, like in that video, whenever you're gonna play it in that video, he really breaks down the psychology. And I want to play that video because Umar claims to be a psychologist, but this psychology that he's presenting, that is at the core of the psychology of racism, the psychology of white supremacy, the psychology of the system, the psychology of even mainstream religions. Like all of this stuff was generated to have a particular effect on us. And if we're not talking about the effects, or we're not talking about the causes and the effects because we're caught up in the distractions or the deflections, then we're missing out on addressing the system itself. So everybody, how I see it now is that the internet is still very brand new. So you have this system of communication that people are still trying to catch their bearings and all that other stuff, still trying to figure it out, what's going on. And a lot of people are still trying to figure themselves out. Like, what the fuck is going on with society and this and that? And on top of that, we're being bombarded by all this mind control programming from the mainstream media. And a lot of people are just saying, oh, well, that's secondary. No, it's not secondary, because so-called leaders of our very recent past were already addressing this stuff. And they were coming, a lot of the times, they were coming from a deeper perspective than a lot of the so-called leaders are coming from today. So what are we really talking about here? If you're calling yourself a leader and we're not acknowledging all of that in every conversation, in every build or opportunity or platform that we have to speak about what's going on here. Because in this video, if we ever get to finish that video, the Umar video, he was really, well, I wasn't saying, I was just saying in reference to like that opportunity to speak to, he literally spoke to Houston. Like, imagine if you could speak to Houston, like if you could speak to California, if you could speak to the world, like Oprah had opportunity to speak to the world, and that's what she said. And they threw a big ass party for that. And then other people are throwing other similar parties too. But I just wanted to share like this one Muhammad Ali video to kind of like set the foundation for where I see a lot of the Black conscious community is coming from, but we don't really speak on it enough. The psychology of the system itself. It's not to say like everything in that whole interview was whatever. I'm just saying what was spoken on here was real, and it affects us in a very real perspective. So he says it way more than I do. So just keep in mind the whole perspective of not trying to reinvent the wheel as a so-called leader when he was bringing this stuff up back then.
Okay, I'm gonna start it at I think we're starting at 5 minutes and 32 and 3, 2, 1, play.
Okay.
By people who don't understand them.
I always said that ADHD thing was
a hustle.
If you could sit there and play video games, you could sit there and play Madden for an hour, you can sit still. You know what I mean?
So do you know what you're saying? You're telling me that ADHD don't exist, and that what they call ADHD is nothing more than the manifestation of a kid who is bored or a teacher who can't maintain his attention. Right. Because child will attend to anything they want to attend. Like you just said, he'll be on a video game for 12 hours.
Right.
That's not ADHD.
Right.
The problem is the classroom is bored, the teacher is underpaid, the school is underfunded, and the curriculum is garbage. Fix the system. Stop blaming the child.
I don't know if we're going to never make it through this because he's saying so much shit that's like, oh man, I had to, because he just said fix the system. And you know, that's something that's impossible. And I want to have a vote how many people think we can actually fix this system. I guess we'll do that later. I'm going to go ahead and play this so we can get through it.
Drives you, man.
Where are you at now?
What?
I'm at 6 minutes and 12 seconds, and I'm starting it at 6 minutes and 12. And I'm going to start it in 3, 2, 1.
Overall drives you when you wake up in the morning. I got to get after it. I got to make people aware. What drives Dr. Umar Johnson?
God put us here to manifest God consciousness on the earth plane.
Okay.
And because we all gonna die, we only get a century, give or take a decade. You get 100 years max to make something happen here. And because I know that my mortality is inevitable, I have to do all I can to leave the world a better place than it was the way that I found it. Because the only thing that live after you gone is your deeds. That's it. Yeah. And so I'm trying to do as much as I can for our people to leave that legacy. Because when I look at my heroes, the Nat Turners and Marcus Garveys and Malcolm and Megas and Fred Hamptons of the world, they had done so much more at this point in their life. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm running late because I ain't got my school up and running yet. Wow. You know, I'm working on that Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. In fact, I'm going to be looking at some schools in Houston.
Very nice.
So the first Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy might be in Houston. And what's going to make us different? We ain't preparing black boys just to go to college. Okay. That's not no success. Okay. There's 2 million black people in America with master's and doctorate degrees, unemployed, underemployed. We don't need to be making college attendees. Okay. We need to be building entrepreneurs, black men who can make their own money.
What kind of pushback you get? Because what you saying,
none of it is direct. Nobody challenged me directly because I eat them up for breakfast. No white scholar will dare debate me. Right. No black scholar will dare debate me on these issues because they know I'm 100% accurate. So the pushback is never direct. I want to challenge you. I've never got that. I'll never get it because I eat them for lunch, black or white. Okay. So the pushback is indirect. A negative article here, a negative video here. You understand? Yeah. That's how they tear me down. For example, I got a phone call from the Philadelphia Inquirer yesterday. Sister said, we want to do a story on you. Okay. No, thank you. Because white media will never promote black power. If I need to get my message out to my community, I'll come to a show like this, a black show that's going to let the people know what I'm saying from my own mouth, not misinterpreted by someone who has an agenda that's not in the best interest of the black community.
What about from my wealthy black leaders? How come they're not like?
Let me just say this. Everything he's saying is on point about those having entrepreneurs above college attendees. That's real talk right there, man. Like we need to have, you know, more than just another student with a degree that ain't serving them. So I agree with him on that. But one thing I wanted to touch on too was he talking about the negative criticism that he may be getting on social media platforms and videos such as this one. They never talk about the positive criticism that they get, you know, because a lot of the people who make videos saying negative things about these guys got just as many videos saying positive things about them. But they want it to be all positive, and you never can criticize them negatively. And that's what we got to get out of, because that's worshiping a male. That's the worship of man. Ain't no man above scrutiny, not even myself. If I can take all the positive props that you give me and call myself Papa and all of this stuff like he do, then I can take a little negative criticism sometime. So we got to get out of our ego, man, and just realize the people want the best interests of the people in mind, just like Umar does. So yeah, let me go ahead and play this. Sutter, you wanted to say something right now?
No, I'm just looking for another video, the other one where he was talking about solutions. I'm gonna find it and send it to you in the chat.
Okay, let me know when you send it to. And I'm at 8 minutes and 18 seconds. I don't know if we're gonna go through all of this. Maybe we will. Yeah, let me go ahead and hit play on it.
All right.
You know what? He on some game. He's trying to start.
Oh, they all on my phone, brother. I can throw some names out right now, but I'm not gonna throw them out.
No, don't do it. Yeah.
They support me.
Okay.
They watch my work.
Yeah.
They love me, but they ain't got the courage to stand next to me.
That's what it is. You think they're handcuffed or pigeonholed?
Oh, without question.
You got to run
right there.
Go ahead, you got it, bro.
See, that's where you can see. That's where you can see what's going on with the individual right there. The psychology of himself. He's just like, oh, well, you know, well, fucking poor me, man. All these other leaders around here, they just don't believe in, you know, what needs to be happening. So fuck, you know, whatever. They're just not thinking like they need to be. And it's this whole like you can see where right into himself, and that's where you can see the downfalls. So when you have to do that, that's a character flaw at least. That's a huge character flaw in a sense that you're talking about an education system that you're trying to build, yet your character is continually in many interviews revealing flaw after flaw after flaw. Not to say that we're not supposed to have any flaws. These are giant, childlike fucking flaws that are out there. And it's a representation of somebody who hasn't done that inner work because they've spent so much of their life focusing on the outer work of the system itself and how they look in reference to the outer work of the system itself. So he's willing to say what he just said in his glory about how great he is, as he's like very vaguely speaking about every single other black leader that exists right now.
And you know something, I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, with the Tariq Nasheed beef and everything, I went in on Tariq too, so we ain't just being one-sided, you know. But what I'm going to say is, man, Tariq made a good point, and I want to do something too. I want to make an apology. Because one time, me and you was kind of worked up on one of them shows, sort of back, that was last year, a long time ago. I remember me and you was like in a little debate, and we was bringing up a lot of black teachers and stuff, and Francis Cress Wilson was one of them. I want to say I apologize to everybody who may have got offended because I said something to the nature of basically the teachings that the younger people got today are more relevant, let's just say. But I want to take that back because all of us was fighting the same exact fight. And I think that was a result of just me being heated. But to get back on subject, I brought that up to say it goes with what you were saying, because Tariq made a good point that made me think about it like, damn, let me humble myself too, because Tariq was like, damn, when he was on Hidden Colors, he did the same thing. And shout out to Hidden Colors. It was a lot of great scholars on there. And yeah, Umar did kind of put himself above them all and stuff. And I think that's some of that ego that we need to work on too. So shout out to Umar. I think that you know, we ain't here to just be hypercritical of nobody, but I think that stuff like that need to cease to exist as we move forward in 2018, you know.
Yeah, especially if you're claiming to be an educator. Like you're not only claiming to be an educator, you're claiming to be an educator who wants to open up an education system to make more people who are going to have the same kind of styles based upon your educational values that you're presenting out there. The values are not going to be just in comparison to the so-called white supremacy system. You can't just have, oh, everything is just great because it's not part of this system. You have to simultaneously address the nature of the system. So him just saying that, but still presenting out very, and this is not to say like everybody's going to have flaws. Everybody's flawed in their own beautiful ways. The thing is, when we start celebrating our flaws and they become part of our persona, like, oh yeah, like, and then turn it into a part of our business, like that's a part of his business. His character is a part of his business. Like when he sells you when he goes into that, like, come on, man, that's extra. That's some more extra shit. And we're way past the extra shit time frame. Like there's some so-called leaders, and not to come down on him for his style or whatever. You know, everybody's gonna have their own style. The thing is, that shit is dated, to say the least. And if you're selling some dated versions of interaction in the society, then I mean, there's so many different perspectives to come from, because it's such a very touchy subject, because we're talking about somebody who is speaking on some very important issues. The thing is, like, if we settle for these very important issues being addressed from very shallow perspectives, we're going to set ourselves up for failure, and we're going to do the same things that happened as a result of the civil rights movement back then, when how many different perspectives were being brought to the table during the civil rights time frame? Ask H. Rap Brown, ask James Baldwin, like ask Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, ask Muhammad Ali, like ask all the people who are in and around those circles, ask all of them, and then start from what they already presented to us. You don't have to create another thing to honor them or to honor the moment of what we're talking about right now. And like he said earlier in this video, he has the responsibility with his little amount of time on this earth to do something of value. He's doing, you know, giving him the benefit of the doubt. He's doing the best that he can, just like everybody else is. And he's shared a lot of positive information. It's just that if you're claiming to be a leader for the so-called future of what's going on, you need to address a lot of these systems from a higher level of consciousness than being presented right now, because that shit is dated and old, to say the least. And we need to, and this is what's happening right now. I'm sure there have been people, because when I spoke to him personally, when he came to Oakland, I told him the same thing that I'm saying right now in his face, and he just kind of washed me off like, oh yeah, just another light-skinned motherfucker telling me, talking some shit. And I was just like, no, man, you're in my neighborhood right now. This is my home. These are my people, my friends, my family. Like, if you want to build a school here right now, I mean, I'm gonna be involved in that shit if you're gonna be in my community. So what the fuck are you talking about? So if you can't talk to me back and forth right now, then how the hell am I supposed to invest my energy in anything that you're doing right now? So that's the whole case of, he already has with his whole perspective on interracial dating and interracial this and all that. I mean, didn't we already speak about this shit in the 60s? Like, I know there's more work that needs to be done to really solidify perspectives and figure out what the hell is going on here. But there are some very important topics that are in and around everything that's going on with not only what he's bringing to the table, but what he represents as a so-called leader in any community, not just the Black conscious community, but in the community. He's in the United States so-called community. So what does he represent there? So we have all these opportunities to speak about the very nature of the system itself. Then why not? Why not go into that? So, like, the thing is, we can't hint on it all the time. It's been hinted so much, and that not only the fact that hinting doesn't work, the nature of the system doesn't give a shit about what you're not formally standing upon, what you're not saying, like, this needs to be addressed, this needs to be spoken about. They've already proven themselves to send your children to war, to poison your children, to kidnap your children, to poison your children with drugs and psychology that is not at all designed for anything other than the self-implosion of the individual on every level of their existence. So if we can't fix ourselves from the inside out and start presenting, he can't even humble himself. That's the whole fucking problem. I've never seen a video where he's humbled himself. If you can't humble yourself and be like, man, you know what? I had to apologize and I wasn't. He literally cannot do it, because that's a threat to his business persona. He can't show a weakness because he's presenting himself from this old school, out of whack version of masculinity that is an illusion in itself. And if you are selling that to children, then there's going to be people that are going to call you on your shit. So that's basically what I see Tariq Nasheed was doing when he was talking to him. And there could have been a better response, in my perspective, not coming down on him, but you know, everybody's gonna respond in their own way. But if you're calling yourself leaders and you have all that stuff out there, like, I mean, just take a moment to just be like, all right, man, look, this dude has some personal problems. Not saying it's sickness or anything like that, just saying seriously, psychologically, there's some perspectives when you're dealing with ego and all that other stuff. that's connected to a lot of other things that go into a lot of different versions of who and what you are. So you're not talking to that one person. You're talking to all the shit that they haven't dealt with in their childhood.
Ooh-wee.
In their mid childhood, like teenagers, high school, all that shit. And when it's gotten so far, it hasn't been accountable for an entire lifetime. It presents itself as the flaws that Umar presents when he's in these interviews, and you can feel that shit. It just hits you in the ear, like, man, did he just say that shit? Like, for real? Like, is this where we're at right now?
And to people who may not be getting the deepness of what Subtle's saying, because this is real talk. When you open up a interview and it take you damn near 2-3 minutes to get over your long ass, intro and shit, like, Prince of Pan-Africanism, Boy Scouts member, team coach at the motherfucker. I mean, shout out to all of that. Listen, I'm not hating. It's just the level of ego. It got to be different than these damn rappers, man. Like, because when people think of consciousness and want to do good, they think they got to compete with another black man. So let me give a shout out to Full Life, and let me give a shout out to my sister Inquisitive Bunny. Thank y'all for the super chat donations. I really appreciate the support. And basically what we saying is that the spirit of ego and competition got to go in the arena of just doing positive deeds for the community. Because as quote unquote black men, we compete in so many ways. Even the dope dealers, they want to, have the dopest car and the nicest jewels. The rappers always competing, who cop the shit first and who the damn king is, on the block. And even when we get in the conscious arena where we saying we want to deal with behaving properly, spirituality, proper sound thoughts, we still see Negroes, and I'm the Papa, and I'm the Prince, and I just got to talk about this, and Tariq guilty too, so it just ain't all about Umar, and I'm guilty too. I'm speaking to myself too. So what I'm saying is, yeah, this whole competitive thing where these young guys think that when they want to do good for the community, I got to do it because I'm competing with the next guy. I saw a couple of black guys on Facebook having a subliminal beef. One was posting himself with the backpacks that he gave out to the children. He gave out some backpacks in the community. And you saw the other one come back like, well, shit, I'm doing this for the community. And yeah, I like that, the fact that y'all competing, doing good shit for the community. But do we really gotta compete? Why can't we do it like just because we want to do it? Like, we want to do it so we can take a picture of this shit and compete with, I'm out here, I'm really in these streets. I'm in these streets. I'm helping the children. Like, okay, all right. You don't see nobody else do that shit. You know what I mean? Like, it make me cringe. My bad, man. I ain't mean to go too long, but did you want to?
No, I was right there with you. I was there.
Hey, let me give a shout out to Global Media Incorporated. Said, thanks for your service. I knew you were a veteran. Oh yeah, I was in the Air Force. But I'm non-patriotic because the system has failed us, and that's part of what we're talking about. And let me say too that we can hit play on this interview, and maybe it's some way I can make it play faster, I think, but it'll probably mess the voices up.
Before we play it, I just want to say in like review of what you were talking about in this video and the whole idea of leaders and all that other stuff is like who we like, the persona, the character that we present as a leader, okay? Because it's a definite psychology to call yourself a leader and to be out there and all that other stuff. And when you present yourself as a leader and you have all of these followers, you're creating your own little kind of like community. You're creating something that is going to be led by you as a person. So that your level of consciousness will be leading that group or whatever, or that thought process, whatever that was. So you as a person is taken into account. So the way you present yourself as the leader, the papa, the prince, whatever it is that you want to call yourself, is going to be a representation of where you're going and where you're trying to tell your followers to go. If your level of consciousness maxes out within a particular level of consciousness that you need to keep people in to be a leader, that's basically like a subconscious cult. That's basically how it is. Like it without being said, that's what a lot of these leaders are doing when they get, and this is not saying that he's got a cult following and all that other stuff. It's just to say that taken to the extreme, when you don't acknowledge the inner work, taken to the extreme, a lot of these character flaws or a lot of the ways like you have to build yourself up and you have to do this and call yourself this and label yourself this. It's a representation of the consciousness that you're expressing overall. So if your perspective is maxing out at that layer of consciousness, and we are understanding that all these other perspectives that are existing out there holding up the system itself, the pillars of this, the nature of this system itself, it doesn't take a mathematician to realize that your level of consciousness, your approach is not going to be enough to address what needs to be addressed, especially if the people who came before you were already expressing that level, a higher layer of consciousness that addressed the system itself. Why would we build a school before we heal the contractors that are going to have to build that school? Why are we going to start building right now? Now, I can understand somebody could argue, oh yeah, well, the school is going to help us heal. Okay, well, that's understandable. But how are you going to build around a script, build around that he is presented to you? That he is presenting himself as what is the outcome of the school he's going to bring up. And this is the thing, like, it's so difficult to speak on these topics because these are people who are doing good shit. They're saying good things. They're sharing good information with the people. We need to talk about a lot of these perspectives. If we don't talk about them, they're not going to be addressed. But we have to simultaneously do our own inner work to realize that we could be trapped ourselves. So this goes for a lot of people who are defending Western so-called society, who are still defending even heliocentrism in reference to the flat earth information and so on and so forth. And what I'm saying is that each one of those storylines is really a test to yourself. It's a test to you. Are you going to take it and be a master of that one thing and have a whole bunch of followers follow you around because you're a master of that one little thing? Or are you going to let go of that one little thing, be vulnerable in that space and say, I don't want to be a leader of anything. I want people to lead themselves and start healing themselves. Like, what do you do? Which one is it? You can't do both. You can't do both. You have to either create leaders or you create followers. And the very nature of what he's presenting is a creation of followers mentality. And we don't need any more followers. We've already been past that layer of consciousness back in the 60s. Like, start talking about what's already been done when we started presenting the injustices of the very nature of the system. Represent this information so we can start jumping off of what we already spoke about. If we don't do that, then we're just going to be trying to reinvent the wheel and missing out on the opportunity to go into whatever tomorrow is, whatever movements we're going to take, go into that space with the work that's already been done, with the energy that's already been done, with the perspectives that have already been done. So like, for instance, on my channel, talking about flat earth and the indigenous peoples across the earth goes into the human story, and the experience itself as one storyline. So when you have people who can't even acknowledge the very nature of the system because they can't get out of themselves, then you're not going to be able to, you're going to be trapped in another level of consciousness that's going to be resonant with the same kind of mind control programming that allowed the system to be created in the first place. So right now, people who talk a good game might seem amazing, but come some years down the road, you're going to see what they're really about. Let's just say that Umar got this school and did everything. Let's just say that. Now what? Now what? What comes next? You don't need that to actually happen to realize that, okay, well, this is a problem that we need to address. We need to address this problem. There's all these other problems that simultaneously exist. How are we going to start addressing them?
My bad. I had to step. I had
to stop talking right now.
That's what's up, man. Hey, I'm gonna go back to the video then. I'm right on time. I had to let the children in from school. This has been a good build, man. Shout out to you, Subtle Infinity. Peace and love to everybody in the chat and all of the viewers. Go ahead and hit that like button real quick and share this. We're gonna hit play on the video right now.
Let's say I'm a multi-million-dollar athlete.
Okay.
I'm a multi-platinum selling artist.
Yeah.
What do both of them have in common? They both have made their success through a white platform.
Yeah.
So even though you're worth this money, your lawyer white, your publicist white,
yeah,
your accountant
your credentials
white,
is white,
your agent white, and you're going to write a $100,000 check for Dr. Umar's Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy for Black Boys.
Yeah, Fred.
Yeah, you right. He said all of that stuff is white. You right, Subtle. His credentials is
left
white.
Something out.
Yeah. Your credentials is white. Yeah. Damn, man. We got to get past this little black-white narrative so we can keep it real and realize that it's black. Go ahead, Subtle.
I want to pause it right there because I don't want to get past it. I want to acknowledge it so we can heal this shit. It's too many. It's too many. We say too much that we want to get past, because that's the one thing that I do. One of the main things that I do really respect about the Black conscious community is they go in hard on white supremacy. They go in, and see it from a psychological poison, a cancer. It doesn't need. We don't need to be moving on. We don't need to. We have to really start to figure out what the fuck that is, how that really affects us, what's really going on there. Like we can't just move on and just expect the things to get better. It's not going to happen like that. So as we're talking about the work that needs to be done in reference to, approaches like Umar Johnson, and I know we're, tearing apart like little details and all this other stuff, but this is just to explain like different perspectives of how we lock ourselves into this bubble of, oh, well, this is it. Okay, well, what about how are we going to include all of this other stuff? So when he starts talking about like, oh, yeah, well, oh, shit. I don't even want to go into that shit right now. Man, let me know when you play.
Okay, I'm going to start it at, hey, that's real. I feel you, bro. All right, we had 8.
Sometimes you just want to be like, man, fuck it.
That was epic right there. Shout out to you, bro. We had 8 minutes and 59 seconds, and I'm gonna hit play in 3, 2, 1.
Losing their bottom line.
They are afraid of losing their bottom line, or in the case of a retired celebrity,
okay,
whose money can't be stripped,
right?
They're afraid of being framed and set up like a Bill Cosby or a Tavis,
okay,
or they're afraid of losing their relationships with white people.
Can you respect that?
No, I cannot.
Okay.
Because we are at war. The only thing worse than what we're going through now is slavery. I don't think it was this bad in the 60s, brother. In the 60s, if a police officer killed a black person,
you better talk.
You had to hear from us.
Yeah.
Now, if a police officer killed a black person, you might get a one-day riot.
You got it, bro.
Oh, I was saying you didn't have to pause it. I was just wondering what number you had because I accidentally clicked off of it.
My bad. I'm at 9 minutes and 31 seconds now. and I'm gonna start it now. And
an emotional temper tantrum.
Yeah.
But there's no follow-up.
Yeah.
See, there's riots, there's revolts, there's revolutions. The riot is a temper tantrum.
Yeah.
The revolt is a sustained reaction
Yeah.
systematically to oppression. And a revolution is a total teardown and building back up. We've never got to revolts. We've never got the revolution. We still stuck on riots, emotional temper tantrums.
That's deep, dog. So why as a people that we won't stand up against some of this stuff as a people?
After they killed Dr. King,
Yeah.
April 4th, 68, and we'll be celebrating 50 years of his assassination, April 4th, 2018.
Absolutely.
50 years.
Absolutely, yeah.
No replacement.
Okay.
We've had no replacement for Dr. King. No leader you name has given us a substantial, progressive, protracted, sustained movement for systematic change because they don't want to end up like Dr. King. In other words, if you want to save black people, you got to be willing to give your own life.
But guess what Umar ain't telling you, and I'm sorry, I gotta pause it here, because what he's feeding you right now is the same doggone fake ass history that I have Dr. King rolling over in his grave right now if he heard Umar say that. And I'm gonna go so far as to say as that's totally wrong when we speak on Dr. Martin Luther King to say what Umar said, like white people killed him, when the people that killed him was all members of the Boule, black guys who were members of frats. Everybody who was up there on that balcony was a member of a frat, and they was there on a mission against Dr. King, because if y'all don't know, Dr. King was a member of the Boule. He was A5A. The whole civil rights movement was COINTELPRO. Of course, we always say it all the time that quote-unquote blacks had better rights before the rights and the liberalism of today. But shout out to Flat Plane Mr. P. He said a system of hierarchy is the main problem. Shout out to you. Thank you for the support. I agree.
Another part of the psyche of what he was talking about is, like, you can see how he's basically placed himself out there as the only Martin Luther King that exists today, and everybody else is just shit because they're not willing to put themselves out there. You see how fucked up that is, to just be like, oh yeah, well, you can he's trying to like live on top of everybody else in comparison to, you can't do that. That shit's only gonna last for so long. And that's what people are trying to tell him, and his character can't see that shit. So everything that you're saying in a positive nature that is of value is tainted with the way you're presenting yourself. So you're presenting yourself in comparison to the other people by bringing them down, like in order to bring yourself up. So we're speaking like in this bill, we're speaking in reference to the nature of how he's presenting himself that brings masses of people down, because he's calling himself a leader and he has these followers. But it's not as simple as that. It's not just like he's amazing and he's got followers. No, he has followers because of the alchemy of how he presents himself to the community, of how he has presented himself right now, how he speaks in every moment. And in that moment, that was a very good opportunity to shed some light on how he's got to bring people down in order to bring himself up with his ego. And it's his ego. It's not like that whole mentality is the problem that he fails to acknowledge. So the only, and he, he sees it, because in that recent interview where he was supposedly responding to, or I think it's in this video, he actually talks about, oh yeah, we in the Black conscious community, these leaders got problems with ego. So, I mean, he says that, but yet we're not acknowledging how it's part of us. That's a huge opportunity to go in, but anyway, you can go ahead and play it. Where you at now?
I'm at 10 minutes and 30 seconds. Let me give a shout out to Ashika Grant. Appreciate the super chat donation, my sister. I really appreciate your support. I'm at 10 minutes and 30 seconds, and I'm hitting play in 3, 2, 1.
What's good when you just said that? What do you feel about the Kaepernick thing? Because he's giving up his finance.
Oh, yes.
He's giving up his family
He's a
name.
hero of mine. And he's going down in history for what he did. And I commend the brother. But what hurt my heart is when I saw so many of his athletes not staying with him. When I heard Shaquille O'Neal and Deion Sanders, people who I used to like, sit there and say, well, he was wrong. And he should have never done this. And he should have never done that. So you will defend the United States flag. A flag that has never defended us. But you won't speak up against police genocide. Why? Because you're comfortable. They make our athletes and celebrities comfortable. That's one of the biggest changes between today and the 60s. Back in the 60s, you could be the heavyweight champion of the world. And you live right next door to a brother and sister who barely making ends meet. There was no separation of privilege in the community in the 60s. So we had to fight. In the 60s, the dentist lived right next door to a woman on welfare. You see that? In the 60s, a world championship Olympic runner lived right next door to a brother working a 9 to 5. No division of privilege. Now you got division of privilege. You got billionaire blacks, millionaire blacks, college educated blacks. In other words, white supremacy has created a system where some black people feel they got more to lose than others.
Because they made it?
Because they made it, and so they choose to stay on the sideline. So see, for me, since I was a child, I dedicated my life to the freedom struggle. So even when I got my 3 masters, my 2 bachelors, my 3 certifications, and my doctorate, I never sold out because I never got those degrees that try to run away from my community. What does the average middle class person do when they get educated? They move to the suburb. How are you going to build black power without a black power base? You got to have population power in order to have political power.
One of my good friends, professional football player, I've heard him say this over and over. And I don't know how I feel about him saying it. What do you feel about the phrase, give back, but don't go back?
That's totally incorrect. And I'm going to tell you why. Giving back, may provide some financial resources. But going back provides an intangible psychological stimulation and motivation for the children to want to do better. Your presence is infinitely more important than your profit. And then we turn around and blame the hip hop artists for being bad role models. Lil Wayne ain't supposed to be a role model. Jeezy ain't supposed to be a role model. Not at all. The reason why they're role models is because the real role models turn their backs on little black boys. See, 50 years ago, the dentist lived on the block. 60 years ago, the doctor lived on the block, the engineer lived on the block, the electrician lived on the block. Now they move out and they get mad at the rappers. The only reason why Lil Wayne is a role model is because the doctor, lawyer, dentist, and engineer ran to a white suburb and probably married a white woman.
I saw a video.
So now the whole reason that the little children ain't got role models is because of interracial dating and people moving out of the ghetto. So here's the thing that I want to point out about Umar's philosophy and how flawed that it is, if you don't mind for just a minute. Let me put the camera back on. Here's what I want y'all to keep in mind. The difference between these fake revolutionaries like Umar today and the ones of yesterday is, think about what Umar said. He said, you know, an athlete that was an Olympic track runner was living next door to the dentist or the doctor back at one time. But what he's not telling you, and what he should be telling you as a Pan-Africanist, is that if you want to trace our quote-unquote greatness back to a time when we was great, you got to go beyond the time when the fucking dude who was the Olympic runner was next door to the dentist. If he's a Pan-Africanist, one thing that makes him different than Garvey is that Garvey traced black people's greatness back to Africa, and Umar tracing it back to a goddamn nigga running behind a damn football. This is what I got against these fake revolutionaries today. They ain't really about the motherland and no Pan-Africanism. He about you getting a better job on a football field running that goddamn ball, risking getting an injury. But he ain't about you being up in the skybox sitting down watching them Negroes run the ball. They got a peanut mentality. They don't understand what true liberation is, and you ain't gonna get it trying to fix the damn system. You gonna get it when you destroy the system. He's an advocate of Colin Kaepernick and the knee benders. You know, the guys who taking a knee. See, and that's my thing. They think that that's revolutionary when a bunch of men get on their knees. I think it's revolutionary when a bunch of men start standing the fuck up. Y'all some backwards ass revolutionaries, Umar. They ain't ready for my kind of revolution because it's a real threat. Umar never get taken out. They love him to death. That's why he on all these places, because he's not a threat. He's trying to get young black men to act right and give their all into this system so they can get that good job, so that they can get that good running back position. They can get that good coon ass position that keeps them at the bottom and think that they get somewhere. He don't get how big this shit is. Like, you got these revolutionaries that think we can get liberated with goddamn, let me, hold on, shout out to Jorge Garcia. Sub and bro are passionate and very influential. This is what I call unity and what needs to be praised. I fucking agree with every word of that. And let me give you another shout out. I really appreciate that support. I want y'all to sub to Subtle Infinity channel as well, because he covered his topic. And if you really want true quote unquote indigenous knowledge, then make sure you sub to Subtle Infinity. You ain't gonna get him on Sarnetta's platform and all of that, because what he teaching is the real shit. They're teaching the mainstream slave story. We was all slaves in America, which is a lie. The first slave owner was black. That was black royalty before it was white royalty. Guess what? I'm gonna tell you something right now. They tell you that black people was once great and all of that. Then they turn around and tell you that today ain't no trace of that black greatness. But you know, it's a whole nother story when you look in Africa and you look at all these black, it's empires over there. All right, it's black dynasty still on earth today. Don't let them fool you. But I will tell you this, I don't know if we're going to get through this thing without hitting pause a couple of times, because it's a big difference between today's revolutionaries and the ones in back in the day. Umar and a lot of them, they do have a belief of fixing the system. And the revolutionaries back in the day would laugh at Umar. They would say, "Negro, what the fuck are you talking about fixing the system? It ain't designed for you." This is what I don't get.
On that note, I was just going to say, since we've been listening to the same talk the whole time, mix it up and play that video that I sent you in the chat right now, which is Muhammad Ali speaking about asking questions about white Jesus. And just to explain like the idea of the system itself, the psychology of the system itself. So you can speak in like Dr. Umar Johnson speaks in reference to what happens as a result, some parts of what happens as a result of the psychology within the system, the education system itself. But there's also a psychology that is the system itself. And in that video, you got it queued up. In that video, he goes in on talking about the nature of it. I mean, he just explains it in his own like poetic kind of fashion. And this is another way to see how other people who are coming about this information 60 years ago were already talking about the very nature of the system itself. And this is a psychology of it. See, a lot of the so-called leaders of today speak in reference to this, but we don't really take it seriously because we don't really in ourselves think that we can really take this system down. These two systems can't really coexist. One is based upon your destruction. That system is based upon your destruction in every single way. So anything you build inside a system that makes a profit off of your destruction will eventually crumble because your foundation is shit to begin with. So any kind of all of these systems that are being presented by a lot of these leaders and talking about, you know, what's going on from the perspective of only the economy or only like aggressive progressives or only like Pan-Africanism or only this, like we need to start speaking a language that can acknowledge the issues that we're bringing to the table. Each different community is bringing different heavy duty, like with Dr. Umar Johnson, he's bringing some heavy duty ass truths to the circuit of information that is the internet and all these other people, along with all the other shit that's attached to it by his own ego. But he is bringing some real ass new shit to some people. The only thing is there's a lot of other things that are wrong with the presentation that can have effects on people later on down the line if we don't address them now. So they're happening, they're being addressed naturally right now by people who are also within this so-called community. And we have to hold ourselves accountable for how we're presenting what's being talked about. The thing is, one of the ways we can start speaking the language of what we're really addressing is to revisit the perspectives that leaders, like in this video you're getting ready to play, had all the way back in that day. Like that, has that psychology been addressed? That's my main point. Like, has the psychology of the boule that's in the ingrained in the Greek mentality of the university system, has that been addressed? Like, have we talked about why that shit exists and how that shit connects to all of the other political power grids that add to keeping melanated people, not only in the United States, but across the earth down, and not only melanated people, but everybody at this point. But you have to also acknowledge the very definite focus on the melanated community, because you can very definitely start to disassemble the psychology of how this shit works. So yeah, people get offended when you start talking about racism. Like, there's going to be people that are triggered when Muhammad Ali goes in on this, but he's just basically reciting a poem. He's reciting a poem, and that poem is very deep because it represents the nature of society. And if we can't even talk about stuff like that, we're going to be spinning on our wheels, fighting ourselves for how long? How long is that going to keep going on? So we have to start acknowledging our what we're bringing to the table, as well as what we are like destroying when we're hitting the table, like, because we all have our flaws. Is the positive nature of what the Black conscious community is bringing to the table? What are they talking about? It's not all bad. It's not all this. There's some very definite healing things that need to happen and be acknowledged in that space. We have to figure that out and like anchor our truths about the system itself. You already know about 9/11. A lot of people are already knowing the system is jacked up. They're so complex. If we don't look at how all these different pieces are fitting together, we're not going to be able to make any kind of actual headway. So go ahead and play that Muhammad Ali video if you wanted to.
Yeah, I got it queued up. I'm gonna play it, and let me give a shout out to Bryant. I did put the link on out in the chat because we just went over 2 hours and 15 minutes right now, so we kind of like midway toward the end. So I want to go and start letting the panelists come and fill up the panel, but we still want to play this clip with Muhammad Ali. So to the people who wanted to join the panel, one more time, this is how you do it. You can either scroll up the chat and click on a link that way, or you could put your email in the chat, or you could send me an email to my Yahoo email address, talktobrosanchez@yahoo, and I'll check that in a minute. But I'm going to let the panel build right now. Before I hit play on that video, I'm going to let Bryant speak real quick. Welcome to the panel, Bryant. How you doing? Well, check it out, man. I'm just going to play the clip for now, and we'll wait on the brother to get his audio or whatever taken care of.
But I always wondered when I went to church on Sundays. I've always been one.
Somebody wrote in the chat, all those famous leaders were all agents and liars. So I just wanted to, before you play that, I wanted to say, like, that's one of the biggest things that people get distracted by, in another like linear ass mentality where we, like, in reference to the Black conscious community, some people just don't even at all listen to what's being said by the Black conscious community because of the atmosphere of the Black conscious community. So they would just say, oh, that's some stupid whatever. The same thing goes for like what people were saying back in the day. Like, as in the system as Martin Luther King was, there's some very definite truths that he was presenting to people, the same way with Malcolm X and everything else. If you acknowledge the information itself and learn and grow from the information itself, then that's a different kind of language that you're not only speaking to other people, but that you're speaking to yourself. So we can acknowledge we can't do anything for what people were speaking about 60 years ago and what they were involved in, but we can take where the perspectives they were coming from and learn from it and really address it today. And that's why I wanted to play this video about the psychology of the very nature of this system that stems even beyond the Colombian era, but to have something to focus on, the Colombian storyline in reference to the United States of America is something very tangible that you can present, that you can really go in on.
Yeah, we about to get it in. Hey, to the person that just joined the panel.
Yeah.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
How's it going? Yeah, this is the first time I've ever actually been able to get through, and I like your show, man. Just keep rocking it.
Hey, no doubt. Thank you for tuning in, man. We're gonna keep it rolling at this point. Could you mute your mic for me?
Sure.
Thank you. So we're gonna play that audio at this time.
As I go out, travel these countries and watch how they people.
Can everyone on
It's
the
just
panel?
the audio, it's not the video?
Yes, the video with that you sent me in the back chat. Let me screen share. Can y'all hear this, Subtle, when I play it? Let me hit play.
Live and I learn. And I always ask my mother, I said, Mother, how come is everything white?
Can y'all hear
I said,
that?
why is Jesus white with blonde hair and blue eyes? Why is the Lord's Supper all white men? Angels are white. Who?
Yeah.
And Mary and even the angels. I said, Mother, when we die, do we go to heaven? She said, naturally,
Yeah,
we go to heaven. I said, well, what happened to all the black angels when they took the pictures? I said, oh, I know. If the white folks was in heaven too, then the black angels were in the kitchen preparing the milk and honey. I said, listen, you quit saying that, boy. I was always curious, and I always wondered why I had to die to go to heaven. Why I couldn't have pretty cars and good money and nice homes now? Why do I have to wait till I die to get milk and honey? And I said, Mama, I don't want no milk and honey. I like steaks and I said, milk and honey is a laxative anyway. You know? They have a lot of bathrooms in heaven. So anyway, I was always curious.
Now, I hate to pause this right here, but I'm going to tell you something what I think personally about Ali. I think he was the Kaepernick of his time. He was that light-skinned Negro who they got up there to sell liberalism, right, to appear as anti-establishment. But if you think about it, he never really did.
Yeah, but at least he knew the earth was a ball.
Seemed like we got a global troll on the panel, man. You know what's crazy? The globalists show up on streams when they very professional. The energy is very good, and they really embarrass themselves. So I gotta give a shout out to the flat earthers that we don't go around and hop on global panels and shit and act all crazy and shit like that. So yeah, to the people on the panel, just know that you are muted. No one can hear you. And at this time, what I'm gonna do is, it don't look like too many people was joining the panel to contribute to the topic at hand. So it'll look like more trolls came than people who wanted to. You say you ready to get up out of here, Subtle? Yeah, that's crazy. So look, Subtle said he's ready to get up out of here. You can't hear the panel at this time because I have the panel muted. But shout out to the brother Masterpiece. He joined the panel. And yeah, I just want to say it was an awesome, powerful show today. Take the jewels that were spoken by me and the brother Subtle, build on it. And maybe we might go live tomorrow or later tonight on another channel, maybe Flat Power. And let me just say, I really appreciate all the donations and support, all the love. And let me give another shout out to Subtle Infinity. Too bad I can't unmute the panel because I got some trolls on right now. And so yeah, let me go ahead and let my panelists go and close out. Subtle, if there's anything you want to say, bro.
I just wanted to.
Yeah, I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing, man. Knowledge is power.
Hey, thanks for that, man. Appreciate that, Rat Busters.
All right, buddy. Catch you later.
No doubt, man. Much love.
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much went in. I mean, I didn't want to leave on a bad note with any kind of anything. Like, the information itself, where I'm coming from, like where I come from on my channel, is like, I don't have the solutions. I don't have any solutions. I don't present that. All I know is that there's a system that has been presented to, you know, my friends and my family who's across the earth right now that is very tangible. You can see what's going on. It exists in your education. It exists in every single engagement in this society. And the only way we can really see it is when we start to trace back the origins of this programming. And once we start healing, once we start getting into those spaces, we can start holding ourselves accountable for. See, there's the thing with in this conversation with these leaders, like Oprah, in a sense, she's an easier example to share with people the importance of realizing your own threat to yourself, your own self-destruction, in reference to like how she's talking. Like, she spoke about that story. She shared that story, and then she went in and just channeled that right into the system that, you know, added to the way, and that added up to the psychology to have that happen to that young lady. So, I mean, it's a very big problem that we need to hold accountable, and we're doing it. And it's going to take some time for us to catch some tread, and we're doing what we can. We'll get there as soon as. Yeah, wherever we're going, we're going to get there. And it's going to take a while to get through this process of holding the system itself accountable. We have to figure out a way to continue to do that on our own. So, I don't know. I'm kind of distracted right now because I'm hungry as hell. I've been on here all the time.
It's all good, man. It's been an excellent one. And since I got Masterpiece on, I'm going to let him build one time before we get up out of here. Take your time, brother. Masterpiece, welcome to the panel, my brother.
Thank you. What's going on, Subtle Infinity? What's going on?
What's up, Masterpiece?
Hey, I always enjoy you guys building. I just wanted to say, because I understand the time is of the essence. The Hollywood, what's happening in Hollywood, what's happening in government, what's happening in the conscious community, it's all mirroring, it's all paralleling. Everybody is exposing themselves. It's almost as like all the lies that they've had to use to cover all their wrongdoings up, it's now coming out. So I don't think that we need to spend much energy in trying to be radical in taking down the system. I think that it's falling, and we need to more so usher the people that are lost. A lot of people depend on the system. And when they get out of it, when they get out of that spell, it's very easy for them to turn to a religion, or for them to turn to another type of indoctrination. So if we just stay on our square and just keep on putting out that truth, just like you guys are doing tonight, you're not calling anybody no names, you're not making heavy insults, and it's all love. And that's how we will usher in a new era of responsibility and good leadership, because we're not showing our asses. Like Dr. Umar, when that beef with SETI happened, I don't think that any of this would be happening if he didn't make that response to SETI. but it's just, you know, a domino effect. He came out of his character study, and he should have stayed in his lane. And so now what we have to do, since, you know, we preach love and light, we got to just stay in our lane, and we're going to shine so bright that everybody that's, you know, lost and confused from having the system just crash, they will see our light and they will feel the comfort and the genuine love. So I just want to say that out there, and stay strong, brothers. I love y'all.
Hey, man, love you too, Masterpiece. That's some great words of wisdom that you just spoke, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's a subtle, man. I want to thank you again for coming out, man, because, yo, it was a powerful one, and we didn't just was overcritical. We came with a lot of good information, and I think that's going to pretty much conclude on the whole Umar thing for a while. But I'm going to just tell you, I don't really got nothing against Umar at all, but I will say that whether he know it or not, the foundation of what he teach, of his values, his plight, is liberal. Is very versed in Kaepernickism. I mean, it's a boule type of a mentality. So he's really, he know it or not, he does have the message of the opposition. Because when you look at the world, you see that it's a controlled effort of black Masons, black elite groups, and these guys control big facets of society. There's a whole barrier zone, buffer zone of black elite groups that don't get talked about by black people like Umar Johnson, because they're sponsored by alphas, kappas. A lot of these black sororities and fraternities has sent Umar Johnson big ass donations. So it's a controlled ass dialogue that's reselling you the American dream on a pro-black Pan-African fist, when he's not giving you true Pan-Africanism. True Pan-Africanism is doing everything you can to get your ass back to Africa. So let me just say this. Let me say shout out to Golden Days. Appreciate you for the super chat donation. We really appreciate the support. Helps us continue doing what we do. So let me say someone on a panel by the name of Mango. I want to let them speak their mind. How you doing, brother? How you doing, brother? Welcome to the panel. Yeah, your mic is muted. Try again, Mango. Say something now. Hold up. Unmute your mic real quick and then say something. Now say something. Okay, yeah, your mic is still muted for some reason. Because we're not getting no audio, but we seeing your mouth move. So I guess what I'll do, since we having a couple of tech issues, is I'll make this a good point to go ahead and close the show off. Not too many people joining. If Mango want to try his mic out one more time, I'll let him try it before we get off. I think that's everybody that wanted to join, because I put the link out in the chat several times. So if you didn't click it, then I guess we good to go. So Mango, if you want to unmute and try again, you can before we go. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and close this thing out and say much love to all of y'all. I see y'all on the next stream. Peace and much love, man. And another shout out to my panel. So I'm going to let y'all get up out of here. Shout out to my moderators, my chat room, and all of the channel supporters.